Hey everyone, this is the series where I take on opponents of different rating levels and show you what's needed to win at every level. Although today things might turn out a little differently. I'm up against a 1900 rated opponent, almost 2000, which actually is close enough to my own rating, so this is going to be a good challenge for me. I'll have to be on my game in order to win this one. So far we've got a theoretical opening. This is the Open Sicilian, where black starts out with c5, and then after knight f3, white goes for d4, and you get this thematic pawn imbalance where black's got a central pawn majority, whereas white's got a better developed knight, and a bit more space in the centre with this pawn on e4. Now, if you play the Open Sicilian with white or black, you need to be prepared for a theoretical fight. There's a lot to remember here. So if you're getting up towards the 1800, 1900, 2000 level, then you do need to know your opening theory. And the variation that I like to go for is the Najdorf variation. This is with a6. The idea of a6 is to prevent a white piece from landing on b5. Maybe a knight, maybe a bishop. And it can also support the pawn advancing to b5 at some moment. Now this move, bishop to e3, this is signaling the English attack setup. After I play e5, what's going to happen is that white's going to drop their knight back to b3, or at least that's the normal way that white will play this. And then we're going to have opposite side castling. White's going to go queenside, I'm going to go kingside, and we're going to have a typical double-edged position when you have opposite side castling. Now, you've got to protect the d5 square. This is a weak point for black in the Najdorf variation, where you've played the pawn up to e5. The pawn on d6 is a backward pawn, but it's okay. One of the aims that black often tries to go for at some moment is to support the d5 push. This can be one idea for black. So playing chess at this level is not only about knowing the opening moves, but also about knowing the thematic ideas. Now, if you're currently rated below 2000 ELO and you're looking to improve your game, then I help ambitious adults reach their goals in chess. If you'd like to explore working with me, click the link in the description below. We can talk all about it and see if that'll be a good fit. Now you can see, all the way back a few moves ago, I predicted that we were going to see me castle kingside and white castle queenside. This is because both of us at this level are well aware of the opening line, and this much at least you really have to memorize in order to play the Najdorf variation successfully. This exact position has been reached thousands of times, maybe millions of times if you count online play. So white is beginning their pawn storm on the king side, and I've got to do the same on the queen side. So you can see that with my king on the king side, white is looking to launch their pawns up the board. Now, one thing that I can do against this move is to put the knight on h5. This actually holds up white's attack quite well. You can't keep pushing the pawn forwards because the knight's blocking it. And this knight on h5, although it looks a bit funny, can actually make it harder for white to continue the pawn storm. Now, against the immediate knight to d5, what this is threatening is to capture the bishop on e7, and this is a very important piece for black, because if this bishop leaves the board, then this pawn on d6, the backward pawn that I mentioned before, is going to be very weak. So by playing knight to d5, I really have to capture this one, and quite often white will take back with the pawn. Let's see if he does this, but the idea of taking back with the pawn is to create an outpost for the knight on c6. So one idea that we're probably going to see is that white will look to play knight to a5 and then knight to c6, and this pawn cements that knight on that square. Now we're 14 moves into the game, and both of us have played this pretty much from memory. Again, this is kind of what it takes if you want to play chess at the 1900, 2000, 2100 level. You do need to know your opening theory, especially in these sharp lines. Now, what to do here? Now, counterintuitively, what I actually need to do here is open up a line on the king side. Now, this might seem strange, right? My king is on the king side, so why would I look to open up a line on that side of the board where my king is? Well, the reason is that after white plays this maneuver, bringing the knight into c6, the queen side is actually going to be closed. The knight on c6 does a good job of that. So what I need to do instead is actually open lines for my rook and my dark squared bishop. These pieces aren't really playing at the moment, so by playing the move f6, I'm going to provoke the capture here, in which case these two pieces can get into the game. Now I expect that white will probably look to either capture here or maybe bring the knight in straight away. These are two ideas that we may easily see. Or we could get this move. Okay, so h4, that looks to reinforce the pawn. It looks to reinforce the pawn on g5. But I feel like this is a bit of an opening inaccuracy from my opponent. Even though we're now 15 moves into the game, we still can consider this the opening because it is the knight elf variation and it's important to know your lines, even up to move 15 and even beyond. So what I can do now is bring the knight here. This attacks the rook and it also attacks the light squared bishop. And after we see the move that we just saw, I can take this bishop off. And now I've got a great destination square for my knight. This knight can come around to c4. Now when that bishop was alive, there'd always be the possibility of being able to capture once my knight arrives on c4. But now that's not going to be the case. I'm going to be able to get that knight into c4, and white can't really stop it. Okay, he can stop it this way, but this is going to mean that his own knight is not going to be able to get to c6. So it's getting quite sharp already. I can play this. He'll take here, most likely. But he's gone for a critical line here. Now, this is where you have to stop and calculate, because what white has gone for is a line where I can capture his queen and he can capture my queen. So now that I've reached this position, after playing a lot of moves quite automatically, based on opening knowledge, based on early middle game ideas, now I do have to stop and calculate. So let's have a look. If I capture white's queen, then the only move that makes sense is for white to capture my queen. In that position, I would be able to capture the white rook. And what will the white knight be able to do? Well, it could come into e6 perhaps. That's one possibility. If it were to retreat, instead of coming in here, if it went back, well then I'm just a large amount of material up, aren't I? Because I'd be able to capture the bishop next. So this line looks very tempting from an initial look. Capture here, he captures here, and it's my turn, and I can capture the white rook. If he captured my knight in that case, then that knight would be off the board, and I would capture the white knight. So if we do a material count, I'd be up a rook in that particular line. So I feel as though my opponent has actually played this much too quickly, unless I'm missing something. Let's see, if I captured the queen, is there anything else that white could do? Well, he could take the knight, but then that would give me time to move my own queen out of danger, so I don't really have to keep looking at that line. I'm just a huge amount of material up. So I capture the queen. He captures my queen. I capture the rook. I really don't see anything that would mean that I'm not up an enormous amount of material in this case. So I'm going to go for this line. I've done my calculation. I'm happy that in this line I should be winning material. Perhaps he missed that that move just there was threatening the queen. Maybe he was playing too quickly. This can be a problem even at the 1900 level, and we've just seen that I've managed to secure the resignation after just 19 moves. Now that you've seen what it takes to defeat a 1900 ELO opponent, click here to check out the next video in the series. I'll be taking on opponents of every rating level from 0 to 2000 and showing you how you can win at every level.